tonight. Plug time. Hey. Oh, creepy. Hey ho hey. Hey. How's everyone tonight? My name's Quinlan. It's Melbourne Musos Facechook Live at the special time of Saturday, 6 o'clock, because I've been going to gigs the last 2 weeks. Last week I saw Pat Metheny with Antonio Sanchez on drums. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And I've just found out today from my friend Ange that we were lucky because Pat Metheny has actually had to cancel the rest of his tour through South America and stuff. So, no good. We're in strange times, people, aren't we? Okay, so last night, why I didn't do Facechook Live on my regular Fridays at 6, because we all went off, man, my prog rock mates, all went off to see Steve Smith last night, and he's on tonight, go, after this, okay? And because of Mr. Smith, I'm going to sort of talk about some of his specialities, I suppose. Anyway, this is Facechook Live. Hope you're enjoying yourself. It might become the new norm. Everyone's going to be doing Facechooks, I think. If everything is going to go the way of lockdown. Brushes, man, brushes. I love them. So does Steve Smith. Let me talk about brushes tonight. Ooh. I'll take off the old whisper up. I'm going to bring that back. Anyway, there you go. That's a little iPhone app that I use quite a bit called Whisper for ambience and different things, which I'm going to bring back a little bit on the atmospheric side. I hope you're enjoying yourself so far. I haven't done any. It's a bit of a somber day. Everything's been cancelled. So I'm just going to... We're all in it together, as they say. And this is what I'm going to do with brushes tonight. These... I often wonder whether, because of the advent of electronic drum kits and all that, that these beautiful works of art and these beautiful implements are becoming a bit of a lost art, in the sense that, I mean, back in the day, when you got a drum kit, you always got a pair of sticks and a pair of cheap brushes, you know, that kind of thing. And one of the things, as I was coming up, one of the things I did as much as I could was play anywhere and everywhere, and you could take these. I took these to work, not these ones, but I used to take brushes to work and just play on telephone books and stuff. So what I did, or what I'm doing, is essentially, if you want to improve your hand technique, play with brushes, because there's very little bounce, you see. And then with brushes, you've got that beautiful swoosh, you know. This is the standard way. So let me take you through basic brush work, and this is tonight's episode is all a homage to Mr. Smith, Steve Smith. Great drummer, been around for decades, fantastic stuff. So what goes on is this. Here's your typical brush pattern. You can just sort of do semicircles like this, and you try and get, you know, the C, that kind of thing. And then, you know, 1, 2, 3. Pick a target, right? Pick a target on your drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, once you've got that going, why not do it both ways? 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you get yourself a nice little groove, and what you're doing is circle it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And you're picking targets, you see. You see? So 1, 2, 3, and then the nuance of just doing that. That kind of thing there. And then a little flick on the left delineates the pattern that you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Odd time. 1, 2, 3, 4. good old 3/4. Not an odd time. It's just a simple triple, but you have 1, 2, 3 to 1, 2, 3 to 1, 2, 3 to 1. It's still just that. You see? 1, 2, 3 to 1, 2, 3 to 1, 2, 3 to 1. And then what you do with your left hand in this particular case is it delineates the time signature you want to play, you see. As does the hi-hat, which is another thing that Mr. Smith was doing. All right, so what goes on is that when you bring the hi-hat in, and this is his other specialty, is he did Mr. Hi-Hats and all that. Max Roach, you know, homage to him. And before Max Roach, it was Papa Joe Jones, you see, all this sort of business. So I'll get into that. I'm not going to play Mr. Hi-Hats or whatever, but I'll get into the little, the different things that you can do with the hi-hat in just a little bit. So what happens is, if I was just to play a jazz groove, right? 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 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 1, 4 to 1. See, you just get that swoosh. Something like that. Now, that one is great, this pattern that I'm doing here. 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 1, 2. That's a great starting point for slow to medium tempos. When you want to go a bit quicker, from medium to fast, you can morph into side by side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. For this, you pick a target about here on your drum. My left, your right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you see. Then you bring it up, and then you can flick back for the tar. 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1. So a bit quicker. And one of the things I say about brushes quite a bit, 1, 2, 3, 4, you see there's that, you see. But one of the things I say quite a bit is that when you're playing normally with sticks or normally with brushes, it's vertical playing, up and down, 1 and 2, 1, 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3. So boom. But what happens is that with brushes you also have the horizontal, the vertical and the horizontal, you know, sort of thing. And what goes on with that is that one of the things about working the horizontal kind of thing, a bit like Kath and Kim I've mentioned, you know, horizontal Irish dancing. Boom, Tish Shannon, that's the first one of tonight. Anyway, there you go. There's the second one, Shannon, there you go. So what happens is you got 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 1, 2 to 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one of the things that you can do with the brushes themselves, the actual brush wires, is that you play sort of normally. You can, you know, you can clean your drums that way. You know, Doris needs a bit of a spruce up. There you go. Play brushes for half an hour. It'll be all sorted. There you go. But what you can do is put a bit of pressure on the brush wires, and then what happens is you can flick back. So you get a bit. See what I'm doing there? I'll do it up here maybe. Something like that anyway. And then when you're doing different things with this, what can happen is that when you're actually playing, now this is something, when you're actually sort of playing, you can nuance a little bit, you see. And even if you are doing the vertical, like that, you can give it a little bit of a glide. Now, I've talked about in the past, I love my continuity, I tells you. So, when I did the Country Bumpkin show, Country Beats, I sleep a close one, Johnny's home. I walk the line. Now I'm going to bring in a couple of things here. I've got, come on, microphone. Bloody hell. There we go. All right. Now, one of the things that both Antonio Sanchez last week with Pat Metheny and last night with Steve Smith was they had their main snare drum in front of them, but they had two snare drums off on the side, and they were tuned different ways, you see. So, at least for mine, what I have here is you see different tones, and so did Antonio Sanchez and Steve Smith. It seems to be a bit of a thing at the moment, right? You've got your some call it a popcorn snare on the side, a little high one. And actually, funnily enough, I used to have a 12-inch over here, and my mate Kev, hello Kev, who was with me last night, he mentioned that I gave it to him a couple of years ago. There you are, look after my baby. And he said, mate, that 12-inch snare, like that. So it's in good hands. There you go, you know, with my prog rock brethren. Shannon. There you go. Fourth one. So what happens is what Steve Smith and Antonio Sanchez were doing quite a bit is moving the brushes between two drums, right? Two snares. Don't forget you can play brushes on anything. You know, anything that's got a bit of a surface. I will say one thing though. If you're wanting to get a set of brushes, these ones are beautiful. They're ProMark TB5s. I've also got a set of TB3s down here too, the more smaller type and all that. But I'm just enamored with these ones at the minute. I got them just the other week. And funny thing happened on the way to the gig the other week. I bought them the other Friday, 2 Fridays ago. And then I had a gig at Jimmy Hornet's, Anthea Palmer's gig down in Richmond. And I was playing there with Victor. Hello, Victor, if you're watching. And Ron Smith, my mate Ron. Okay, how are you, Ron? There you go. And what's happening is after the first song, I was doing my normal thing, but because it's a little bit of a, you know, sort of an intimate venue, and the joint's only been open a month, and it's a lovely joint, I got very politely told, or Victor got told, do you think you could tell the drummer to come down in volume just a little? And I wasn't playing loud, it was just a very small venue. And I said, I don't mind if I do. And I played the rest of the gig with these, and I loved it. It was a great gig. Very nice. Aha. And so what happens is these are the brushes. This is what Steve Smith was talking about so much. He actually pulled the snare drum out from behind the kit, center stage, and did his whole thing there. Now, hi-hats. This fella here. Now, what can happen with hi-hats is that you can... actually, I'll keep a hold of these. No, I'm going to go over here. What can actually happen is... I'm just going to talk a little bit basic with hi-hats. What happens? So versatile. And he actually brought out what's known as a low boy last night, which is a very short hi-hat, which is on the floor. I mean, back in the days when it was first going around, they used to be called sock cymbals. Now, I can only assume because they were next to your socks, you know, down here at Sock Cam, which I'll put up, you know, later on for you. But what goes on is that he actually did that. So Steve Smith, for mine, is a Renaissance man. He actually brings everybody with him, okay? None of this is mine, 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 me, me, me. You know, sometimes you get, oh, I invented this. You've got to bring history with you, right? And that's what goes on. Anyway. Go to a rock beat. Now, there it is there. Nuanced hi-hat, right? It helps you tell a story. Start doing that. I've said in the past, a couple of episodes ago, in the sense that if you play that with your right hand, this is going back to Neil Peart and everybody. If you keep your hi-hat going with your right hand and keep that going, what will happen is that any time you put in the left hand as a single stroke roll, like right, left, right, left, right, left, you are catching it open. Build that up. But I did that a while ago. So what goes on? Damn you, microphone. Anyway, okay. What's he building in there? I got to do spoken word. I've got to practice my spoken word for June. What's he building in there? Well, that sounds sleazy, doesn't it? Anyway, so what it goes on. Now, if you pump the left foot, what can start to happen frees a hand up, right? All right. So, aren't they beautiful? Okay. And what goes on? These are the Sand series, by the way. I might as well do a shameless plug. These are the Byzance, Meinl Byzance, Benny Greb Sand series hi-hats, 14 inches. But what can happen is if you pump the left foot with the right hand, you start to get that. Put in a double tap. Now you can't see what my left foot is doing down below, but I've got odd sock cam down there, so give me a few bet and a few hours, and I'll have it up either late tonight or tomorrow for you in a beautiful 4-camera shoot with a dodgy vocal microphone thing, which I'll do a bit of editing on, I suppose. Dirty bastard. See that? Splash hats as well, you see. So what you do is just tap the pedal, get this beautiful little thing going on. Now, that's why, I'm going to go back to brushes now. This is the thing about hi-hats. This is Steve Smith and what he was doing last night. Beautiful brushwork. Go check it out. He's on tonight at Bird's Basement. I'm not getting paid to say that. It's just go and see him while you can before we all get locked down. And what happens is go, like old Molly used to do yourself a favour and all of that stuff. And the other thing, he's on tomorrow night too, I think. And anyway, there's that. But the nuances you can create with a good set of hi-hats, all that sort of stuff. Now, one of the other things is sometimes it's, I like to work with opposites. I mean, such a long time ago on the show, I used to do things like do 2 bass drum work, but with brushes, and they seem like opposites, right? So what happens is I would just sort of play the bass drum very softly, that kind of thing. And the other thing is, if I'm going to sort of bring history with me, one of the reasons, one of my second drum kit that I bought 40 years ago, beautiful rosewood kit. At the time, I was doing a lot of jazz. I was working with Bob Settergreen and Gary Costello, R.I.P., all that. Good mate in Alan Brown, R.I.P., all that, and all this stuff. And so when I ordered this kit, I just wanted Jack DeJohnette's drum kit. I've still got a thing for Jack DeJohnette. He's brilliant. And I just, that's what I want, There's the picture of it. I want that. And so Bill Mackin got it in for me. This is 1980. Whew. Ouch. I've got to have a lay down after that. Anyway, but what... that long ago. Anyway, but what it is, cut a long story short, I wanted an 18-inch bass drum and a 22-inch bass drum. And that was in the days when that wasn't heard of quite so much, I suppose, as it is now, like when you got Terry Bozzio and you got 6 bass drums and 6 different sizes, if you like, or whatever. But what goes on is that the 18-inch was for my restaurant jazz work, and the 22 standard size was from a typical rock band, covers and original work. But when I had them at home, I'd put the 18-inch on the left-hand side. It's what I've got over there right now, on the left-hand side, and the 22 on the right. And what I started to do was just use brushes with the 2 bass drums, you see. And so what I don't have, 2018, or for many years, Doris had Doris the D-Dub, had a 20-inch on the left-hand side here, but it's in the other room. I've just cut her down a little bit. I'll put her on the Jenny Craig diet. Shannon, there you go. So what happens is, boom tish. Anyway, what goes on now is I'm going to go to 2 bass drums, and it's like opposites attract, right? And the other thing you can do is straddle the left side pedal. I've done this before. There you go. You see, just that left side pumping. You'll see it with boot cam down there, that I have my foot across both my left side pedal and the hi-hat pedal, and I play them both together. That's not a new thing, I'm just showing you what's going on. And then I really just put the right foot on the in-betweens. Okay, so it's almost like a kind of a single stroke roll with the left foot start, which is also John Bonham's secret weapon, if you watch his hi-hat pump away all the time. But I'm just adding the extra foot, so I've got it just like that. Then, what can happen with that is that if I go back to the hi-hat, I was talking about the splashes, right? All that. Now I'm going to take the snares off. I'm going to go to the mallets, actually. And I want to get atmospheric on you and all that. Then I might grab the brushes back at some point. Now I'm using the hi-hat for space, right? Now, one of the other things that Steve Smith did was he did a lot of work with a style called Konnakol, which is vocal percussion. And of course, I'm going to bring up Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida, hippopotamus, Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida, hippopotamus, Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida. Now, Steve Smith was absolutely fantastic with that one. Now I'm going to evoke the spirit of Jack DeJohnette with four-way coordination, right? What happens here is you may have that going, splashing, bit of space, ambience. That's why I use Evan blending sticks. Ouch! Ooh. And what Jack DeJohnette used to do was use the hi-hat in all the places where it's not supposed to be played. There's the old saying, you know, in jazz, whatever you want to do it, but leave the hi-hat for the rest of the band, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But not for Jack. Then you've got the splash hats. Bring it back down, go back to the mallets. And one of the things that Steve Smith did last night was he got everybody clapping in 15. How are you going to do 15, right? Well, how do you, what two numbers get you to 15? 8 and 7. So, if you go Gina Lola Brigida, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 as crotchets, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, there's 8. So Gina Lola Brigida, 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida, 1, 2, 3, 4. I screwed up with the end bit, but I just wanted to say her name. Say my name. Whoa. Gina. Gina Lola Brigida, 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 1. Gina Lola Brigida, 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 the biggest gig in town. And the 2 snare drums, don't forget, was one there. But I've got these piccolo toms where anybody else's probably octopad or something would be there, or computer. So I suppose I better look at starting to wrap it up. But there's 3 things with Steve Smith last night. Brushes. No, it's so good. It's such an art. Go out and get some. One thing, if you've got just a clear plastic head on your snare, change it. It ain't going to work. You need a coated head. These are Evans UV1s. Thank you, Mark Inglesi, for these. Beautiful. And that's what they can do, you see. Very atmospheric, and plus, you've got to work a little bit harder for it. The other thing with Steve Smith was the Konnakol. Look it up. It's working numbers, and you keep your hi-hat, say on crotchets there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1. There you are. Here we go. Oh, come on. Stop. Okay, I'm coming. Yes. All right, Whisperer. Okay. I don't think you can get that app anymore. That's on my old iPhone 4. Like that. I don't know why it's still going, but it is. I do love that for this kind of atmospheric stuff. And what goes on is I've talked about 3 main things. Yeah, I've got the brushes. I've talked about them. Konnakol, how you can count. 15, it's getting into numbers and all sorts of business. And hi-hats and all that sort of stuff. One of the things, you can... That's my own personal Aussie version of Konnakol there. Nice glass of beer. I sound like, I'm on the sauce. That's what I sound like. I'm not always on this. Never drink and drum. That's my motto. Afterwards, that's another story. There you go. There's that. All right, so what have I covered? I've got the hi-hat, all the nuances. I've done all that. I've done a couple of little things like that, and Jack DeJohnette, and Steve Smith is the Renaissance man. He brings everybody with him. All the history. It's gorgeous. He's on tonight and tomorrow. Please go and see him. All that before we're all locked down and all that. And we're all doing Facechooks together. I don't know why I'm laughing. You've got to laugh. Anyway, so there's that. And one of the other things about all of this business is that we share things, right? And all that sort of stuff. Heaps of jokes about bog rolls. I've done it myself plenty of times and all that sort of stuff. But just share. Come on, we're all in it together, I mean, that's what we're doing right now. Go away and practice. Get your brushes out. Blow the dusts off them and, sort of thing. And just go, beautiful. Yeah, I love it very much. It's so personal, brushes, because what can happen is that it's all got to do with, there's so much nuance you can do with it, you see. See, I don't even start out to try, oh, I'm going to do Mr. Hi-Hats. Oh, look, what I'm going to do. No, you don't. You just be you, All I can be is me, Always trying to improve. Fall over sometimes. And then try and verbalise what you do, Famous drum teacher to the Stars back in the 80s, big on his independence and all that, was Gary Chester. And he used to say sing. So you don't have, go off and learn Konnakol. Go off and learn tabla, brilliant. But just try and count. Always remember, I was going to finish, but I'll quickly finish off by what maybe I should have started on, was the basic count. 1, 2, 3, 4, crotchets, 3, 4, quavers, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and triplets, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a semiquaver. Damn, think of 1 again, 3 and 4 and a 1 again, 3 and a 3 and a 4 and a quintuplet. Hippopotamus. And of course, and then when you start to talk about things like nines and things like that, what starts to go on is that 9/8, for instance, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But 7's always funny because it's 2 syllables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, look, I'm counting in 7. No, you're not counting in 8 because 7 is 2 syllables, you see. So that's why Gina Lola Bridget and things like that are so great. And what goes on with that, though, is that when you're dealing with 9/8, for instance, you could think of it like 3, 4 in triplets, like 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1. Slip jig is what that is, a 9/8 Celtic rhythm, you see. And the reason it's called a slip jig is when they're doing the Irish dancing, there's a little slip, Lord of the Dance and River Dance and all that business, they had a lovely slip jig, but it was subdivided in 5 and 4. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Oh, I remember that. I just heard it. I've got to get that. And it's 5 and 4, right? Genesis, supper's ready. Okay, for any old prog rock fans there, Beautiful rhythm. Anyway, I said that I was going to start to wrap it up, and then I just went off and did a whole other new bit for you, mate. There we go. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up now. I've gone 10 minutes over. That's all right. I don't mind. I like doing that. So what I'm going to do is urge you to go and see Steve Smith tonight at the Bird's Basement, and he's on tomorrow as well. I urge you to go out and buy a pair of brushes if you don't have a set already. They are beautiful, and then go away and have a look at all the options you can do with a hi-hat, you see, and put all that together. So, and learn to count aloud, okay? My old teacher, Harold, he used to, count aloud, son, and all that biz, and it really does work. I used to hate it just like everybody else when you're starting out. What are you going to do? Oh, man, I'm too cool for school. But it gets the job done. And then it becomes a whole other thing, you see. And then you can sort of mix things up, that kind of thing. So you can start working your rhythms and everything in a much smoother way if you've got a handle on your counting systems, which I've just given you: crotchets, quavers, triplets, semiquavers. The divisible numbers: hippopotamus for 5, Gina Lola Brigida for 7, and then everything else can be sort of morphed like I did for 9/8, you see. And you can mix it up to however you want. Like when we're doing the other week, I did see the Big Fat Piggy, right? One and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and Man, that's a 4 against 3 polyrhythm. So all you Tool fans out there would love all that stuff with Danny Carey. See, I managed to get in a sneaky plug for them. And I missed that concert. Tool, I missed the Tool concert. I can't believe it. Anyway, I'm signing off. My name's Chris Quinlan. This is Melbourne Musos Facechook Live. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going off to get a beer and lock myself down into editing a 4-camera shoot for you later tonight. I've got 1 camera there. I got a camera here. I got a camera there, and down odd sock cam. There it is there, and hopefully you'll get something out of that. Glean whatever you want to glean. You know, my only payment is a smile and a glass of beer, maybe. I do sound like a bloody drunk, don't I? I'm going to stop doing that. Okay. So what happens is have a great time with, you know, we'll find a way through, hey? It's all happening right now, and all I can do is do what I do to help you. I'm a poet, and I don't even know it. Anyway, so this is what I'm doing. I'm going to go away and edit. So if you're wondering, what's he building in there? Tom Waits. Take care, all. There you go. I also want to do a special hug and kiss and everything to Jack Mance. What happened, man? I'm sorry. So I saw your post there. So all my love. He was a guest on the show, and he's a good mate, and he's a good bloke. So just sending all my to you. And Shannon, Ali, all my mates out there. Kev last night. Ange, Gav from last week. Love yous all. Okay. Take care. Bye. Hey. Oh. What's he building in there? I see him every night. What's he building in there?